Aloha, everyone in another level living land. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Freedom Fridays. So happy that you are here today because we are in for a treat. We're going to be talking about winning the money game with fun. Okay. Like a lot of times, there's all this craziness about money and we want so much money and there's resistance and everything. But I'm really looking forward to you learning about and me learning about this amazing message that our guest has for us today. So, the Freedom Friday Show, first, let me tell you before we get into it, welcome, Anna, to the Freedom Friday Show. So happy that you're here, blessing our stage with your presence today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. It's my favorite subject, so love it.
Wonderful. All right, everyone who's listening, we're all about business and life harmony, right? We want to be able to support you as the entrepreneur in achieving success in business and life harmony because it really is two sides of the same coin. We never want to get so busy making a living that we forget to make a life. And it is possible to work smarter, not harder, create time, money, and emotional freedom. And business life harmony is all about relationships, our relationship with ourselves, our relationships with our world, our relationships with our business, our relationships with money is what we're going to be talking about today. So what Anna has to be able to share with us. First, let me tell you who she is. Anna Felix is a California native and smart money strategist. Her background is in education and linguistic intelligence. Her roles as a wife, a mother, an interpreter, a business consultant, and business owner were fulfilling and brought her happiness. And when she became a widow in 2010, she felt that there was a need to become more financially savvy. So her search left her feeling that there had to be a better information, and she decided to turn her pain into purpose. And today she empowers clients with financial strategies that make them financially bulletproof. Oh my gosh, I love that. I talk about out of the ashes we rise. A lot of times there's things that happen in our life and we're like, we're not sure what's going on. But what's so beautiful about you is you're sharing that, sometimes we need to be able to figure out a plan. A failure to plan is a plan to fail. So, how to be able to do that in a smart way. And what I love about you is that you specialize with working with women who have a lot of fear about money. And the goal is to kind of demystify that topic. So thank you again for being here and sharing this wisdom. What do we need to know? Please help us, because there's all this resistance to money, and what we resist persists. How can you demystify this and make it clear and fun for us?
Yeah, well, it starts with having that conversation. And that's what's so awesome about what we're doing today is because I think that internally women know that they're fearful, but they don't always express that. They don't always acknowledge that first so that they can move forward. I mean, it was something that I didn't really realize that that's what my problem was, again, until I was confronted with all of these decisions that I needed to make at a very stressful time in my life. And I had no idea where to go to for help. I had no idea what was the best thing. I mean, nowadays, you can do a bunch of searching online. There's a ton of information, but then it was like, but which one do I believe? This contradicts that one. This is different than the other person. Like, so where do I go and where is it safe and we're going to have this conversation? And so that's really what I've tried to build is this community of we can ask questions. It's okay to say we don't know something. I mean, my biggest fear was going and meeting with a financial advisor because I had no idea like what I should ask about specifically, like, and then he started talking and there was all these acronyms and all this stuff. And it was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like the deer in the headlights, like, this is crazy. But the idea is that it's not complicated. It's not hard. It's just understanding really how money works and then just figuring out the best path for you. So I just love that we don't make it complicated. I always say, There are no stupid questions, right? And instantly I'll see women's shoulders just like, oh, okay, because if there's this like, I don't know, we're not taught a lot about this. Traditionally, even in schools, I mean, this is something that I'm even doing now, is even talking to junior high students, high school students, because we don't have this conversation about money. Some families are fortunate to be having this conversation early on with their children. They talk about investing, and so this is great. But a lot of families, a lot of cultures, we just never talk about money. And so the first step is, how does money really work? How do I make sure that I'm living within my means? What does that actually look like? It is as simple, Heather, as how much money do I have coming in on a monthly basis, and how much money do I have going out? If you see the number of people that I meet with that are professionals, corporate leaders, CEOs of companies, they don't know the answer to that simple question because they're not keeping track of it. They don't have any idea. And I think that we live in a world where money is not something that is actually tactical anymore. Like it's not like back in the day when you had a $20 bill, you went to the store to buy something, you took out that $20 bill, and then you saw the change that you got back, right? And it was a tactile experience. And now we swipe a card, and there's no concept of, I go get a coffee at Starbucks, and then I go swipe a card and I go have lunch. And at the end of the day, I have no concept of what have I actually spent and how does that fit into my overall monthly money coming in and going out. And so especially at a really young age, that's something that I'm just, really showing, like, we got to know that number. We got to know what's coming in and what's going out. And if we're in the negative every month, then that is going to come back and bite us really, really soon. So, I would say just start there. And there's so much to say.
Well, let me just pause you there for a moment, because you highlighted on so many amazing things that we needed to hear. So I just wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly and reiterate that. So the first thing that you mentioned is that a lot of times we as women, and even men too, we don't really necessarily understand money. It can be even these traditional things that I think about, the man is the breadwinner. We don't have to worry about it. That traditional role, or even the cultural norms, or even when we're children, we just don't talk about money. A lot of times, depending on the situation growing up, you could be in this thriving or surviving bubble, just trying to get to ends meet, and that creates a pattern and a money memory. Or you could be in this striving, and maybe there's this, lack of love, or there could be so many different beliefs about money that we are raised with that kind of bring up and highlight this fear. And so what I love about you is demystifying it and breaking those chains to be like, hey, it's not as complicated as we think. We can actually love money and enjoy it and not be so charged by it either way. Yeah. I kind of expanded on that, but
absolutely. I love it. I love how you brought it all together. And that whole idea of money story. I mean, I had one. I didn't, money doesn't grow on trees. It's hard to find. It's hard to make. You just don't know that you've had these programs. And so if you stop and start to consider, why is it that I always run out of money before I run out of month, right? And then you go back, and I had a client recently, and she was like, that's how my mom was. And I make enough money, I shouldn't have that issue. But it's like, it's a program that you're on that you don't even realize. And so just stopping and considering that, like, what are the issues that I'm having? Like, what are the fears that I have around, and just really stop and figure out what that is. And then so many times, and that's what I had to do, I realized, oh my goodness, this was the programming I heard. I mean, those were things that my family talked about. And then I was able to figure that, okay, well, was that really true? No, that was just the situation that had been around that. And then it just gets passed on. I mean, I had just read an article that, as a child, you take on the programming that you're brought up with. And it's your subconscious taking it on. It's not even something that you're actively participating in. So it's so important to figure out, what that is. Oh, this was a belief I had, and guess what? That belief is wrong. That's totally not how it is. And so I can change that, and I can do it that quick. Like tomorrow is a new start, and I don't have to subscribe to that anymore. Just like I was subscribing to that thought before, I can just decide today, I no longer believe that. Guess what? This is my new belief. And I know this now. And now I've learned something different. And so that is what's so cool about the whole money story and the whole belief thing, is that once you identify it, once you figure out what it is, you totally can change it as of like right now. And so that is so powerful. And then it's like, okay, now I've learned that. Okay, cool. Now I'm not so fearful about that. Being able to dive into why did I have that fear? Was it lack of understanding? Was it lack of, you talked about some of the stereotypical things. Many women went from living under their father's roof to living under their husband's roof, right? And they never, in that transaction, they were never actually in charge of money. But guess what? Women live longer than men. So there is a huge chance that at some point in your life, you could be the financial administrator of your family. Do you want to learn how these things work now, when things are good and when you have time and there's no stress? Or do you want to do it like me, when you've just had a horrible thing happen to you, and now you got to make all these decisions, you're not sure which way to go, and you're not even sure who to talk to, and there's all this fear, and you've got the stress, and believe me, it's like, it is way too much. And so I really just want women to figure it out now, to feel comfortable around it, to talk with their friends about it, make it a subject that we talk about, and that it's okay. You know what I learned today? I learned today that I can actually grow my money in a place where I could never have to have loss, and yet still have the growth of the stock market. Nobody told me that was possible. I don't have to just have a bank account. I can create my own bank. That's one of the things that I teach women. Nobody told me that was possible. And I've met with people that have MBA in finance, and they tell me nobody ever told me that. It's not that it isn't out there. It's just, if we're not tapping into those conversations, then we don't know about it. And so knowing that we have options more than what we just see out there as business owners, that's something that's frequently talked about. I'll talk to successful women business owners that say, I usually just invest back into my company because I'm afraid of the stock market. I'm afraid to lose money, and I don't see any other options out there. And so I just don't do anything different. I met with a gal, she said, I have $80,000 in my checking account. I know that that's not a good thing. I know that I should be investing, that I should have it somewhere else, but I don't know where to put it. And it scares me. And at least there, I'm not losing it. I told her, yeah, you're safely losing money though, because inflation is 8%. You're not even getting 1% if you put some of that into a savings account. So now you're safely losing money, and that's not okay either. So it's just figuring out the ways that, wow, there's other opportunities out to me that are not being spoken about. And that's what I'm teaching women about.
I love it, because you're giving them permission to not only change their money story, but really know that it's safe to accumulate, and it's also safe to plan and invest, and then be financially set for not only now, but also in the future. Not only if, so I want y'all to pay attention to this. So even if you're like still in the resistance of money, or maybe money's not necessarily coming in. Yes, we need to change the money mindset and story, and Anna can help you do that. But also giving yourself permission to accumulate and to be able to let it grow and let it evolve where you don't lose anything. The other part that you mentioned, I thought that was so powerful, was tracking. So now, it's almost like a good thing. Like now we have where we can swipe our credit card, or we'll Cash App, or money's digital. I remember working sometime, or when I was working in the government, and everything was electronic. It was never a tangible bill. And I'm like, okay, just send $200K to this contract. And it's like, you don't even see it or know. It's like, so it's actually also a good thing. because, oh my gosh, how much money can you generate? It's all digital, it's all electronic. How much money can you receive? But make sure that you have a plan for it. Right. And how to be able to give yourself permission to receive. I think that part about it's easier for us to give, like by nature. Sometimes we're giving. A lot of entrepreneurs are giving. But I'm finding that there's a resistance of receiving, or even that they're worth it. Like I heard today, I can't afford it. Well, sometimes we can't afford not to.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And understanding that and knowing and being open to, just like you give. Someone said it, and I would love to be able to attribute it to someone. I don't remember where I heard it from, because I'm always in these type of conversations, but she likened it to breathing. And for me, that just made a ton of sense. She said, you breathe in and you breathe out, right? So try to just breathe in for a while, right? You can't do it. Try to just breathe out for a while. You're just always giving, right? You can't do that either. It's got to be in and out, in and out. And money is that same way. And I thought, that's a perfect analogy. I love it.
It's funny because I say that, and I don't know if you heard it from me, but maybe somebody else is saying it, and that's great.
Oh, really? Maybe.
Because it's like that air, you can't go one way or the other. And I talk about that all the time. So there's never any coincidence. You could have heard it from someone else too. So, but I love that you brought it up, because that's so true. Like a lot of times we give and then we're depleted.
Right.
And I think that it's important for us to give ourselves permission to receive as well. So, this was such a good conversation. I know that there's so many more. Do you have, I guess, what would be maybe like a big takeaway, or what is a big takeaway that you would like to be able to share with our audience today?
Yeah, well, there's so many, but I think the one thing that I'll talk about, and I mentioned it because I mentioned it briefly, the idea that you could create your own bank. That was something for me that was so powerful, because we have a young child and we get them a bank account, right? And that's really awesome, and that's a good thing to do. We can take that a step further, and we can create our own bank. We can have a family bank that we can create and have access to the money while it's growing. It can be based on what the market growth is, but it's not in the market. So therefore we take losing off the table. There's no way to lose money in these type of accounts. We have access to it while it's growing. So if something comes up, we need to take money out of it, we can take money out of it. And here's the other thing, it grows tax-free. So unlike it's amazing. And unlike a 401k, which, when I talk to business owners, when I talk to entrepreneurs, they recognize that even if they don't understand how it all works and how money works and the taxation around that works, they've heard of that. And they know, okay, I could grow money in a 401k for the future, because it does grow. It's tied to the market. It can grow, but it can also lose money. So that's why, that's a vehicle that's kind of scary. And the money that I put in there is tax deferred, which means I don't pay the taxes today. So that seems like, a really good option, except you're going to have to pay taxes sometime. And when you grow it all in a tax deferred type of account, that means you're going to pay all the taxes later. So in retirement, when you're making less money traditionally, is when you're going to pay all the taxes. So that's kind of like writing a check to the government, signing it, and then saying, hey, in 20 years, whatever amount you want from that, I'll just pay it. That's really what we're doing. When we actually have the option to grow the money in this bank, and we grow that tax-free, so that when we take it out later on, we don't have to pay the taxes. So now we've eliminated another fear, a fear of what could taxation be like in the future. Most people believe it's going to go up. So why wouldn't I just make it so that I don't have to pay taxes later on?
I love that. Okay, so if you want that, right, you want to definitely reach out to Anna. Anna, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can go to annafelix.com, And right there, you'll see I have a page about my book that I just released just this last winter. And you can also book a call with me, and we'll just have a conversation about where you are, what your goals are, any questions you have, things that you have going on that you want to change, whatever it is that you want to talk about, I'm available.
Oh, fabulous. So make sure you go ahead and book your consultation with her, and she'll be able to set you on the right path. Come to us if you want to get right with the mindset and change those mind monkeys. We're really good with that. We got our communication mind mastery training that's coming up, and it's about changing those beliefs, breaking free from those previous mindsets and shifting them in the way forward. So therefore you can fully receive all that you're called to receive and work with Anna to letting your money grow, because it really is about prosperity for everyone. Thank you so much, Anna, for blessing our stage today. You have shared so much wisdom, and we're just so grateful that you had this time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
All right, everyone, have an amazing Freedom Friday and an awesome weekend. And we look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of Freedom Fridays. Bye. Take care.